okay? And it is 2:02 p.m., Veronica, and you and I are on here, and we're going to get going, okay? We're already recording. We're going to have a quick word of prayer, and we're just going to dive in, okay?
Okay.
All right. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for today. Thank you for another opportunity to connect with the growers. Lord, we ask you to bless those who are coming on, Veronica, who is on. And Lord, we just want to connect and we want to learn how to be more self-sustaining, how to use the gifts that you've given us, Lord, so that we can take care of ourselves, Lord, in this coming crisis. We thank you so much for your love and your mercy, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so tomatoes. You have indeterminate tomatoes. The opposite of that is determinate tomatoes. Indeterminate tomatoes, kind of think of them as infinity tomatoes. They don't stop growing. They just keep growing, and they can get 7, 8 feet tall. They just continue to produce fruit as long as they're happy in the right soil, the right environment. They just keep on giving. They are the tomato that keeps giving. The determinate tomato is the limited tomato. It is gonna fruit and then it's gonna die after so long, and it won't get any taller than what the label actually says on it. So I usually go indeterminate because I love tomatoes and I just want to get as many as I can. So you got the right ones in my opinion. So what you want to do, what's more important, well, let me say this. It doesn't take a lot for your plants to grow. Plants don't require a lot. They're going to survive anyway if the conditions are somewhat amicable for them. However, tomatoes are heavy eaters. They love moisture and they like potassium, okay? So it's not that you have to overdo it in potassium or overdo it in water. What you want to do is let the plant tell you what it needs, okay? When you start to see the leaves start to yellow and brown, you probably want to take those leaves off immediately. That's what I do. As soon as I see a leaf start to yellow, brown, get like it's a little sickly, I snap that leaf off because I don't want it to infect the other leaves. And I don't want the plant to give any more energy to any part of it that is sick than it needs to. I only want it to concentrate on giving energy to the parts of the plant that are healthy. So I take off anything that doesn't look right. Now, of course, if the leaves that look a little sickly have fruit on it, I try to avoid taking that whole branch off. I'll take off the sickly leaves and leave the fruit on that branch. But what you're looking for is soil that is an even distribution of nitrogen, nitrogen, potassium, and I think the other one is calcium. So most soils that you buy in the store are gonna work just fine. Some of them are labeled
NPK. I think it's NPK. Sodium, potassium, and K.
Yeah.
NPK.
Right, NPK. And tomatoes are gonna do pretty good on a pretty balanced soil. Some people do additives like Epsom salts. They'll do additives like a fish fertilizer. You can do that. The only thing you want to remember is when you fertilize, when you water, like I think it was the Mennonites that you bought them from, you don't want to wet the leaves. So one of the reasons why I pick off those leaves at the bottom of the stem of the tomato, even as it continues to grow taller, keep taking those leaves off the bottom because you want to have as little leaves towards the soil as you can so that the water doesn't splash up on the leaves when you water the soil. Because when you water your plants, you're going to water the soil. You're not going to water from the top of that plant and then let the water drip down. You're not going to do that. You're going to water at the soil where the root is, okay? And you're going to do that in a way that avoids the water splashing onto the leaves of the tomatoes, of the tomato plant. Does that make sense?
Yes, my question is, I have some baby leaves that are coming straight up out of the dirt. So do I pull them out the dirt?
Yep, you want to break those? Break those off that main stem.
No. They're not connected to the stem. They're just in the dirt, like kind of next to the stem. And if they are connected to the stem, then it must be under the dirt connected to the stem.
Yeah, so dig down and break those off. What'll
Oh,
happen if you don't is those are
okay.
going to continue to grow.
Okay.
Your tomato's going to be more like a bush. And you don't want that. You want the tomato to grow up and the leaves to grow out from there. You don't want anything shooting down here on the main branch of the tomato. You don't want anything growing down here on that main. I wish I had my tomatoes right here to show you. One day I'm going to do this Zoom outside in the garden so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So you want to break those off. If you can dig down in the soil and go to where those little shoots are starting, you want to break those off. Because remember, you want the tomato plant to concentrate on the main vine of the plant. And if it's got to divert energy to those other areas, you're not going to get the result that you want, which is a main vine with fruit coming off of those branches of the plant. Okay, so soil, you want to even soil. It's okay if the P is a little bit, if the middle number is a little higher, that's okay. Okay, but again, the plant is going to do pretty well in any soil you're going to buy, from the store. If you got indoor, outdoor, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. When you plant if you're going to transplant them into another pot, because it's going to grow bigger, make sure that when you transplant them, you're planting them as deep to the soil as you can, so that your leaves are up here, but your branch, the main part of the tomato is down here beneath the soil. The thing about tomato plants, hey Brett, the thing about tomato plants is that every part of that branch, that main trunk of the tomato, can sprout leaves. And that's fine. You want it to root that deep, but you don't want it to create branches that deep. So that's why you're going to break off the little leaves that are starting to sprout, because you don't want that to sprout out. I'll get a little bit of water. Okay, so soil, you're good. What you have is totally fine. When you plant the tomato, when you transplant, make sure you break off any, shoots that are starting to come out. Plant the tomato as deep in the soil as you can, that where the part that doesn't have the branches on it, the little shoots, break those off and then plant that plant as deep in the soil as you can. And then, like I said, when you water, you're watering the soil, not the tomato leaves, okay? As far as the pot, I think a 5-gallon bucket will work just fine. What's even more important than the soil, I think, well, not more important, but equally as important as the soil and the container that you plant in, is the support. That indeterminate plant is going to get really big. So you want to put support around that tomato plant before it actually needs it. Right now, they're not so tall that they're starting to bend over, right? They're just kind of tall, straight, and they've got the branches, coming out. So you want to put some support around that tomato plant now that it's going to need later. And because it's going to grow so tall, you want some support that's, maybe 4, 5, 6 feet tall. And you want it to be kind of strong. Some people take tomato stakes, which is just, a piece of wood, and they drive it down in the soil next to the tomato, maybe wrap some twine around the tomato, maybe not. You may want to put some twine around it later. I have something called tomato clips. And if you look at the email that I sent you guys, I attached a list of items at Amazon that I purchased for my garden. And one of them is tomato clips that I use, and they work really, really well. I was surprised. They're plastic and they connect from the tomato or the main trunk of the tomato to whatever you're supporting it with. And they connect so the tomato gets support along that way. So that's one thing you can use. You can use, like I said, the wooden stakes. You can use something called a tomato cage. I guess you guys have seen it. They're shaped like this, and they've got round circles within them. You can find them anywhere, Home Depot, Walmart, everybody's got them. The only thing is with an indeterminate tomato plant, it's going to be a pretty tall plant. So the tomato plant may outgrow that tomato cage unless it's a very tall one. So along with the buckets you're going to put it in or whatever you're going to plant in and the proper soil, you want to make sure that you plant a support system with that tomato as soon as you plant the tomato plant, because it's going to grow fast. Okay. The only other thing, Veronica, that I would advise you to do is to mulch around the tomato plant on the top of the soil. And when I say mulch, we talked about this earlier, we're talking straw or wood chips or leaves or something that's going to be protected over the soil, between the soil and the plant. What that's going to do is it's going to ensure that the soil stay moist, and it's going to protect the leaves of the tomato plant from touching the soil where it can get wet and damp and maybe even pick up disease or something like that. So make sure you mulch once you plant your tomato. Do you have any questions on that?
No, you said wood chips, dead leaves, or traditional mulch, right?
Traditional mulch, like what you would use in your garden bed, I would not. You need something that's going to cover your soil.
So not traditional
you want to
mulch?
cover your soil. No, the reason is because traditional mulch has dyes in it.
Okay.
And it's not really suitable for vegetable rearing. So I wouldn't use like the red or the black mulch. I would just use something you got around your house. If you got a tree at your apartment or your house, you got a pine tree, just pick up some of the, leaves or pine needles that are on the ground. You don't have to go buy anything unless you want to, but you can just get something like that. Anything that's going to create a barrier between the dirt that your tomato plant is planted in and the tomato plant itself. Because what's going to happen is the tomato plant is going to continue to grow up, and you're going to see that stalk get taller with no leaves on it, because if some shoot out, you're going to take those off. But as it grows taller, you're going to get more space between where the soil is and where the tomato leaves begin on the plant. And that's what you're protecting. You're protecting those tomato leaves from moisture and disease and things like that. And if it's too close to the dirt, then it's going to pick up disease and moisture and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I was on a Zoom this morning and they said manure. And I said, do I have to use manure? They said manure, or I think they said dead leaves or manure. And I said, nah, I'm just going to wait and talk to you.
Yeah, I wouldn't do manure. Manure is pretty strong. And especially if it's not aged, I wouldn't put manure in any garden bed right now unless that manure is aged. But even like if you're putting you don't want to put it in a pot with your plant, unless you're mixing it in the soil. Okay. I wouldn't use manure as mulch because it has moisture in it itself. The thing about mulch is that you're using something that's pretty dry, something that's going to quickly absorb the heat from the sun, and that's going to protect your soil from drying out, and it's going to protect your leaves of your plant from getting diseased and mildewed and wet and all that kind of stuff. So no, I wouldn't use manure as a mulch. If you're going to use manure, I'd use it mixed in with dirt that you're going to plant in. Does that make sense?
Yes, I actually don't want to use manure at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. No, you can use manure in a garden bed, like I mentioned, but I would not use it in a, in a pot that you're planting a plant in.
And I
Okay. Yes.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying if that makes sense to you. Okay,
Okay, you're
anybody
saying
else?
use
Oh, go
you're
ahead.
saying use manure if you're planting it in the ground, but not for a particular pot.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
I heard
See,
you.
manure is a soil amendment. It's going to improve your soil. So you want to mix the manure in your soil, or if you're not going to mix it, put it down as a layer, like in the fall or in the winter, so it can get older. It can acclimate to the soil you already have. But you don't want to use it for a particular plant in a particular, pot. You want it to be a part of your soil if you're going to do that.
Okay, so I had two more questions. One is when you say 'cause right now I'm actually picking off the bottom leaves, like you said, just like, well, if they're too close. When I go to put this in a pot,
Mhm.
do I break up the soil that it is when I come take this out this small pot?
Mhm.
Do I soften it up before I put it in the dirt, or do I just put it in as is and let it break up naturally?
Just put it in as is, let it break up naturally. See, every
And
plant has a root ball, and
right,
that's whatever it's, grown into while it's in the pot is in. So when
right,
you take it out of that pot, you don't want to disturb that root ball. You just want
okay.
to put it in a pot that's got plenty of room where those roots can just expand. They will do that. They will expand on their own because they'll recognize they got more room, and they will start to grow around and down.
So when I go to put it in the my last question is when I put it in the dirt, you were telling me to put it deep. So do I put it so that the dirt is, I don't know, a hand length above the pot? You don't, I don't see how you say that. Okay, so you put the dirt in and you put the pot, the plant in, and then you cover it. But I was wondering, do I have to make the plant deeper into the pot, or just it'll grow down? Don't worry about it. Just put it on top.
Yeah, what you want to do, depending on how big your pot is, I know exactly what you're saying. Depending on how big your pot is, and I don't have a pot in here anywhere. Depending on the size of your pot and the length or the height of your plant, and especially that period, that distance between where the root ball begins and where the leaves start on the stem. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to put dirt in the pot before you put your plant in it. And what you're going to do is when you put your plant inside the new pot, you're going to put the plant down so far until you see where those leaves begin to grow on your plant. Okay. And then you're going to fill in dirt around and above the surface of the new pot until the leaves begin.
So for
Yeah.
example, are you saying that I'm going to, so I had pulled, I hope you can see this sort of.
Go down a little bit more.
There he is. So
Yeah,
I
there you
pulled
go.
off all the stems from here to here. You're telling me fill the dirt, put this in, but fill the dirt up to here and then pop this off?
You can do that, or you can give a little bit more room before you pop that off and just let it grow a little taller. Then you'll pop it off if it's starting to get too big or it's
But
starting to get diseased or something like that.
I guess what I'm asking is when I put this in the pot and how much dirt do I put above this dirt? It sounded like you were saying to put this much dirt over it and then pop this off so it won't be touching the dirt. That's just an example.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Since that's a healthy looking leaf you just pointed to there, you can leave that on, okay? But it won't hurt if you take it off. It'll
Yeah,
still
that's what
stay
I
healthy.
just did. I just took off all the leaves that were even, I mean, they were already off, but I took off a few more so that when I water, there's absolutely no way.
There you go.
And I even took off the baby. I wasn't able to dig down and pull it out at the root, but those 2 baby leaves that were growing in the dirt, I just pulled it off so that they die.
Yeah, that looks really good, Veronica. So you've got them set up to put in the dirt. Now, when you put them in your new pot, you're going to fill that pot up with dirt underneath the plant before you put the plant in there.
Right.
Okay. And then you're going to put your plant in and fill in dirt as much as you want before you get to the leaves. All right. So if the distance that you have right now that I see on there, if that's good enough for you right now, leave it. And then put your dirt in where, you know, there's not too much between that new leaf, that first leaf, and where the dirt begins. Because remember, you're going to put mulch around to cover that dirt that you just planted in. And what you're going to see is the plant is going to continue to grow taller, and your leaf is going to be further and further away from the dirt beneath it, the dirt and the mulch beneath it. Now, if one of those leaves get diseased or they start to get too big or something like that, you can break that leaf off. One of the things that I try to tell gardeners is don't be afraid to prune your vegetable plants. It's not going to kill them. Okay, especially tomatoes. It's not going to kill them. They're going to be just fine because it's a strong plant already, and it's already, you know, it's going to be a pretty big plant, and you want it to fruit. And one of the ways you help your plants to fruit is to continue to prune. Does that make sense? You mentioned the suckers. You know how you have a leaf like this, a branch like this, and then a sucker comes up in between, and you take those suckers off? Continue to do that, because those suckers take away from that main branch, that main, you know, stalk.
Yeah. I haven't seen any suckers. I've just been, if a leaf looks yucky or looks like it's whatever, I guess this is a sucker. So I think this is a sucker. Let me show you this. You tell me if this is a sucker. And do I take off the whole thing? Let me see if I can show it to you. I think that's a sucker. Let me see. Can you see this? Do I take off this or both?
Let me see a little bit in the between. Oh, I think I see it.
Wait a minute. So
that's the main stalk.
No, this is the main
that's
stalk.
The main stalk. See, that sucker is in between.
So which one do I? Let's see.
That sucker has gotten pretty big.
See it? So that's the main stem. This is something, and that's something. Which one do I take off?
You can take off the one in the middle, but as I look at the one that's on the, but when I look at the one on the side, that one looks a little yellow. Is it a little yellow, that one?
No.
Okay. Well, it's really your choice. The sucker has gotten so big though.
Yeah. So take it off?
You can take it off. You can take it off. It's not going to hurt the plant.
Okay, I just took off the sucker.
Yeah, but you want to catch suckers earlier than later because they continue to get bigger and bigger.
Someone said you can plant the suckers.
Yeah, you can, because the thing about a tomato plant, yeah, the thing about a tomato plant is that all along the stalk of the tomato can root, all of it. That's why you see suckers coming out. That's why you see plants coming up out of the ground that's off the main stalk, because tomato plants have suckers, have this ability to root all along the branch. Now, some people have tried to plant those and some haven't. Some just put them in water and see if they'll take root, and some don't. I mean, it's an experiment.
Is this a sucker? Because this is big. Is this a sucker? I probably didn't know it was a sucker. So
you probably didn't.
Let's see. Lord. Let's see. So this is this leaf. Can you see it?
Yeah, I see that one.
Wait a minute. This is the stem.
Uh-huh.
This is a regular leaf. Is this a
Mhm.
sucker or no? Because it's
No,
not.
I think the one underneath it. Is that one underneath it?
Can you see it? Let me see.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the one underneath.
So this, oh man. So you're saying cut this one off?
That one looks like a sucker to me. But again, it's your plant. You
No, I'll
judge
take
and
it off
you
if that's
decide.
what you said. What I took off was the thinner leaf. This
Yeah,
big.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So you see, you end up with a stalk that's got a lot less leaves on it, but it's a very strong stalk. The
So
main
when I
part
go
is
to
strong.
replant these suckers, do I put them in water?
You can do that. Some people do, some people put them right in dirt. I've tried it. It doesn't always work for me. I don't know if it works every time. It's nothing but an experiment. So it's no problem with you trying it.
I dip it in water and dip it
Okay.
in root starter and then put it in the dirt.
Now, what is root
You do
starter,
it
Scarlett?
immediately? You're saying you dip it in water, dip it in root starter, and you immediately put it in dirt, or you let it root a little bit in the water?
Hi, and I'm just signing on, and I don't even know what kind of plant that is, but any kind of plant that I have used or tried to root, as soon as I break it off, I dip it in some water and dip it in root starter and then put it in dirt. Hold
Now,
on.
what is root starter?
Let me
Explain
go
that.
get it right quick. I'll be right back.
Welcome, Scarlett.
Thanks.
So we're still dealing with questions. I am fine with dealing with questions this entire hour before we continue on with the rest of the presentation. Is anybody objective to that? Anyone object to that?
No. Is this
Okay.
a sucker? Can you see it? This is the main. Let me see.
Yeah, I see the main one.
Apparently I'm not doing a good. Okay, so here it is. This is the main one.
Yeah,
This a sucker?
that doesn't look like a sucker to me. That looks like
This
it's
one.
a separate branch.
Okay, so that's a separate branch.
That's what it looks like.
Okay, great. Praise
Yeah,
the
that's what
Lord.
it looks like.
Thank you.
So I was asking if you guys are okay with continuing to finish these questions, because I still have questions that we didn't get to last week.
Okay,
You guys okay with that?
this is old.
Mhm.
It's been on my porch and I had it for a while, but this, can you see, this is what it looks like. It says take root.
Mhm.
Can everybody see that?
Take root.
Yes. What's the ingredients in it? Is it organic? Does it have animal stuff in it?
Honey, I don't know because I bought it years ago before I started to try to be serious about my gardening.
So is it liquid, Scarlett?
No, it is a white, where's the phone, the thing?
A
here?
powder?
Yes, it's a powder.
And you mix it with water?
No, you don't mix it with water. For me,
Mhm.
what I've done, and I've had success in rooting it, I've just when I break it off, just dip the stem in water. And when you dip it in the powder, the powder is going to stick to it.
Got it.
I mean, I've done my roses, I'm trying to do lemon. The things that I've done aren't died yet, and they are growing.
Okay. So what's
And
it called again?
this is called Take Root, Rooting Harmony. Oh, it says active ingredients, and I can't pronounce none of them.
So take root.
Yeah.
So you dip it in water, and then you
Yeah.
dip it in the root, in the take root, and then you put it in the ground,
Yes.
and you you water it.
Yeah, if I did that, I usually start with small pots.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste my time if it ain't gonna live.
Right.
So I put it in, small until I see that it is growing, and then
Okay.
I'll put it in a bigger pot.
Now let me ask you, does it ever wilt before it begins to grow?
I have not noticed that
Okay.
it wilted. And I'll tell you what else I've done. Hold on, let me just show you.
Okay. So what Scarlett is showing us is kind of spin off from what Veronica was saying. When you have a tomato plant or any plant and say it breaks off, or you break it off intentionally, like a tomato plants, it's very common to get suckers, which are the main branch of the tomato grows like this, and then there's one, there's another branch that grows like that, and then a sucker comes along and starts to grow in here. What we're talking about is when you break off this sucker, that you can actually grow that and make that another tomato plant. And remember, we're talking about sustainability here, right? So who wants to go buy plants and who wants to go sow seeds again? This is already like a seedling. So if there's a way to save that seedling and have more tomato plants, let's do it. Right? So Scarlett, what were you going to say?
No, I was going, this is, I don't know what it was. It's some kind of green that I broke off and I cooked it. And for some reason, and this is what I broke it off. This is where it was. But, it came from the bottom and I just stuck it in water and it's starting to root.
Oh, it looks like kale.
I don't know what it is. I just planted some stuff. I'm just getting into gardening, but you can see here where it's even growing more babies. So, I mean, the things that we, throw away and stuff like that, we can recycle those things and
have more food.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost enough to have a little.
It's ready to go in the ground.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Scarlett, for that. I want to go on to another question that we had. I think we talked about direct sowing versus seedlings. We said direct sowing is when you put the seed in the ground where you intend for the plant to grow, as opposed to seedlings where you would use something like this and grow the seeds in the house or in another area and then put them in the ground to grow. Kind of like what Scarlett did with that mystery vegetable that she had, is growing into something else now. Now Scarlett is ready to direct sow that outside in the ground or in a pot if she wants to. What you're looking for is for those roots to start appearing, then it's ready for the ground. Let's see. Somebody asked, where do you get the rubber boots from? We talked about gardening PPE. We said you definitely need a hat when you go out to garden. You need boots, you need gloves, right? So I sent a link to the boots that I got on Amazon. They're really reasonable. So if you guys want to take a look at that in the last email that I sent.
And I also recommend steel toe boots.
Steel toe boots? Yeah.
I bought some boots before the gardening class thing in wherever we went, and they were nice and pretty, but they were not steel toe. And it makes a difference if you're going to spend your money, you might as well spend your money for something that is durable and can be used more than one thing. So steel toe boots.
Okay, because the ones I recommended are rubber, because of snakes, because of things you may want to crush while you're out there. So steel toe is another recommendation, really good idea to look into as well. So I'll see if I can find some and add that to the list if you guys are interested.
I got mine from Amazon also.
Okay.
And I'm very frugal.
Yeah, I know that's right. Okay, someone said, what is the easiest way to grow in Georgia? With the easiest effort, with the littlest amount of effort. So we did tackle these questions, and I kind of want to know what you guys think. Those of us that are on the call, you may not be in Georgia, but wherever you are, what have you found is the easiest way to get growing? I do have some ideas about that because I know what we did. But I'm kind of interested in what you guys have done or what you would do, or what you think about that. So just unmute yourself and give us an answer to that. Anybody?
I don't want to monopolize a thing, but greens, what do you mean, like vegetables and stuff?
The easiest way to get a garden growing. Yeah.
Well, if you got a little space, I highly recommend container gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, and I learned this at the thing that we were, I can't remember, in the whatever that camp meeting that we were at, that the nursery will give you, the buckets, the black buckets, they're free. I went by and he gave me some, and I planted my orange tree and my lemon tree and my grapefruit tree in it, but it wasn't quite deep enough. So I went back and got some deeper ones.
Mm-hmm.
And in the nursery, they have huge 15 and 20-foot trees in those buckets.
Wow. Yeah.
And you can also order 20 and 45-gallon grow bags from Amazon cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, make your little arrange them so they look nice in your yard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the country, but I'm still using some of those because it's going to be easier for me to take care of, and I don't have to fight the weeds.
Yeah, that's true.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. That was what I was going to suggest too, Scarlett. The easiest and quickest way to get growing is container gardening. And that includes 5-gallon buckets, any kind of container. You can grow in this thing, just cut the top off and get growing. Anything that you can put a hole in the bottom for drainage.
That's the other question. So the tomato plants need a hole in the bottom?
All plants do.
They
Okay.
do. All of them do. Because you don't want the water to
Root
get
rot.
trapped in the bottom of the container where it'll cause the roots to rot. So you need good drainage.
Those plastic containers that you get, don't you have to make sure that they're food grade and BPA free?
You do want to make sure. Usually, if you're getting it from a nursery, they already know that you're going to be growing food in them. So it's going to be, they already know you're going to be putting food in there or growing food into it. Above ground gardening, we mentioned that with the boundaries or barriers or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a lot of background noise. Arthur? There's a lot of background noise.
How's that? A little bit better?
No.
It says the microphone is unmuted.
Yeah, but I have background noise.
Ain't none of me. I'm at the barber shop.
Okay. I'm just asking you to mute. There you go. So the best, quickest way, the easiest to maintain, because Scarlett mentioned not getting weeds as easily when you container garden. When you're in-ground gardening, you get a little bit more susceptible to weeds. So that's one way to kind of sidestep weeds if you can, and definitely control them better by pulling them out if you're in a container. Another thing that I wanted to mention is, the dirt itself, getting dirt to put in those containers. One of the things that we did was, when we did the container gardening, was we filled up the bottom of our containers, like our grow bags, our above ground gardens, we filled them with sticks and leaves and things to kind of take up space so that it's not 100% dirt throughout the entire container. What that does is it gives me the ability to save on my dirt, because dirt costs a little money, but it also creates better drainage for the plants themselves. That way, when the roots go down, there's other stuff down there, and it's all biodegradable, so it's going to break down into dirt, and it's just a better situation for your roots. It feeds the rest of the container. It feeds the roots that are growing down. And like I said, it creates pretty good drainage along with the holes at the bottom. Now, grow bags, you don't have to put holes in it because they're already porous. But plastic containers, like the 5-gallon buckets or 3-gallon buckets or whatever, you do need to drill some holes in the bottom. More than one for sure, at least 3 or 4. So you want to have that drainage. And I think the holes are like 3/4 inch drills that you put in those in those buckets. Okay. All right, any questions on that?
Yes, quick question.
Go ahead.
Regarding the plant pots, right? I
Yeah.
got one of those self-watering pots, but you mentioned that there should be drainage. But my thing is, there is water collecting at the bottom. Am I supposed to empty that water out?
So is this a plastic pot that's
Yes, it's
self-watering?
Let me see if I can show you. So this is where the hole is, where the water collects at the bottom.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that, because at the bottom, your plants are not sitting in that water. Your plant isn't sitting in that water. Okay, the water is on the outside in that container down there.
Right. So it doesn't
You
need
know
to
what I'm saying?
be disposed of, because I feel like it's threatening to spill over.
Well, you could move some out if you think it's going to spill out on your furniture or something like that.
Okay.
But the point of that water being there is so that the plant can wick the water up when it needs it. Okay, so that's kind of like a reservoir for the plant to draw water from as it grows.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the point of that thing, is to kind of hold a reservoir of water until the plant actually needs it. You water from that hole right there, right?
No, actually, I do it from the top. Should I not?
Okay.
It's an aloe vera, and I know for a fact it's already outgrown its pot. It's an 8-incher, but I
Okay.
didn't know if I was supposed to go for width as well as height.
Mhm.
So what would you suggest for a growing aloe vera?
Well, you don't want to, you don't want the plant to get root bound where it has nowhere to go. So it may be time to transplant it. But because you're watering from the top, that overflow of water is going to drain down and gather in that reservoir at the bottom. And as you see that water disappear, you know, okay, at the top it's a little dry and I don't see any water down at the bottom. So I'm going to give it a little more water. That way you don't overwater it.
Okay.
You just water it as it needs it. But as far as changing the pot, if you think it's outgrown the pot, then yeah, give it a larger pot for sure.
But width as well as diameter as well as height?
I don't know much about aloe vera plants, but I tend to err on the side of giving it more room than it needs,
Okay.
because I want it to grow bigger.
Got it.
You know what I mean? I don't want to stunt it by not giving it a big enough pot.
Okay.
So I usually kind of go towards a bigger pot rather than a smaller one.
I have an aloe vera plant and it's doing so well. I haven't repotted it from when I bought it in October, and it can go dry. You can let it, I would say not to overwater it, because it can go dry and my leaves are so thick and big. I'm just so proud of it. So yeah.
And I was going to say too, you have to know the kind of plants that you're using. And I'm experimenting. This was a beautiful plant. It was a beautiful plant, but it's dead now and it stinks because I watered it too much. It has the holes and everything. So what I'm doing now is to find out what kind of plant I have and what it's what I need to use it for. About
these are.
Yeah, about
They are
popsicle
different.
plant. And the popsicle plant doesn't need the same as my petunias.
And that's a good point, because some plants don't like water at the top. They like water at the bottom. I have African violet. I love African violets. It's my favorite plant, my favorite flower.
It is
And
my
I
favorite,
learned about.
but I can't get mine to live for nothing. I mean, I'll get it to live for 2 months, and after that, even watering it from the bottom, like you lift that pot out, you put water in the bottom, and I don't know why mine's die. I'm so sad about that. So sad.
Well, that's what this does. Kind of like Laura, it's got a reservoir down there of water that gathers, and the plant wicks it up as it needs it. But you never water an aloe vera, or rather a African violet from the top. You always water from the bottom, like Veronica said. But like Scarlett said, when you buy your plants or somebody gives you a plant, educate yourself on what that particular plant needs. Learn as much as you can about that particular plant. And YouTube is the best source in the world, because everything that you are dealing with, somebody has dealt with it and they made a video about it, and it's free. So a lot of what I've learned this year alone has been on YouTube because there's so many people that are doing the same thing. So with the African violet, another thing I can tell you, and this is for any plant, the first time you see a leaf or a flower that's dried or yellowing or looking weak, take it off. Get rid of it because it's contagious. Other parts of that plant may get just as bad and weak as the others. So sometimes when you're in your garden or you're looking at your potted plants or you're looking at your house plants, just give a quick examination and pull off anything that looks old or dried or sickly or like it's dying or on its last leg. Pull it off. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid that your plant is going to die. It's not going to die. More of it is alive than is dead, right? So we're just taking off the dead parts. But these are my favorite. I have so many of these in my house and they do so well because I do not water them from the top. I don't even water them down here that much unless I see that it's very, very dry, very, very dry. Then I'll put some in there and go from there. But I guess the general rule, find out about your plant, whatever you're growing. When you buy seeds, read the package. That's in one of our slides. Read the package. In fact, let me do this really quick before we go, because I was going to get to this today in our meeting. I wanted to get to my slide. Okay. Let's see. I don't know which screen you guys see. Let me do it again. New share. Here we go. This is what we went over last week. And I wanted to get to, this is our brief recap, We talked about getting planted right now. These were the basics. Those are gardening terminology, and we're talking about gardening tools. Talked about that, but I wanted to get to this slide. Is it that one? Yeah, it was that one, this one. You want to read the back of your seed, your seeds package, okay? When you buy seeds, please do not throw away the package. Even if you only use a few of the seeds, save the package. It's got valuable information on there, specifically for the seed that you bought. And you want to pay attention to these things. One of the things that is important is how long does it take for your seed to germinate? What's germination? That's when the seed actually begins to grow. It's no longer a seed, now it's got a sprout. That's germination. Every seed is different. I mean, every plant is different. So your germination time is going to vary. So you want to make sure that you are reading that package, you know what to look for, and that you label what you're planting. We'll go over this a little bit more next week. But again, we're going to talk about the seed packets, the planting zone. What zone are you in? When is the last frost date? When is the first frost date? What does that mean? Is it important? How long does it take for my plants to actually mature or days to harvest? We're going to talk about all of those things as we go forward. Okay. I had another question. Let's see. Talked about growing potting dirt for tomatoes. Okay. We've got about 9 minutes left. Are there any other questions before we close for the day? Any comments? I said I was going to ask you guys how you're doing in your journey since last week. I see some faces that were on here last week, and I see some new ones too. But let's take a question first, and then let's get some updates on where you guys are on your journey. Scarlett?
Let me just ask some, because I'm just new to this. How long are you on? Do you just have a set amount that you on that you can do? or you have a paid subscription?
Oh yeah, this is an account. We have 1 hour. We do it every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time for 1 hour.
Okay. So you're not gonna get bumped off of Zoom if you go over your hour?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Good. Okay.
No, I will not.
Okay.
Any other questions? And we do this every week.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions?
I've got a comment if nobody does.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Oh, go ahead. Question?
Yes. Okay. So I guess I don't know if you've ever tried to plant any raspberry vines.
Mhm.
But I've had them in water for, it's been over a month, and I guess like the leaves were on them, but now they're brown. So of course they're dead. The leaves are, but does it, like, if you see any like pink or red in the stem, does that mean that it's still life in them? Could I still possibly plant them without leaves being on them?
Oh, definitely. What you're looking for, a dead leaf or a dead branch or a dead plant is going to be brown. It's going to be, it's going to start to harden. It won't look like it's alive. It'll look like life is gone from it. And sometimes even then, it's still not dead. So I would take a chance on it and go ahead and plant it. But I would educate myself on raspberry vines and find out how are they cultivated, how are they cared for. And this is part of our journey, Kim. It is to find out what we need to know about what we're doing with this particular plant. They all, just like people, just like children, they all need different soil. They all need different care. And as their mamas and dads, we got to find out what they need for them to grow well.
Okay.
So that's our responsibility. That's part of our responsibility as growers, is to find out, what do I need to do to get the best out of this plant? What do I need to do different for it than I do from another plant that I have? So educate yourself, ask questions, look at YouTube videos, Google it, learn as much as you can, and then come back and tell us what you did and how you're progressing so we can know as well. Because I want raspberries too. I got some blueberries, but I ain't got no raspberries.
Okay. I was just wondering also, I guess, I mean, I could probably look on YouTube as well, because I was thinking about putting them in grow bags because we ran out of space to plant anything. And so I was thinking maybe I should try the grow bags because I do have a couple of them left. Or
how large are they?
Well, they're just the little plants. I mean, they're not big,
Okay.
I've had them in water.
Right?
I got them. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's a vine, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that thing's gonna keep growing. Scarlett, do you have any raspberries?
Yes, I planted raspberries. I planted a bush of raspberries and mine is growing. But Kim, just because I ordered some from a nursery, ordered some plants from a nursery and it was dead. I'm saying I just wasted my $30. But I said, I'm gonna try, and I put it in a little pot and put the soil in it. And I looked the other day and I just forgot about it. And it's starting to come back. So even though it looks dead, go on and put it in some soil, make sure it gets water, and just watch it grow, because you never can tell what is going to happen.
Right.
Wonderful.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, there's hope. There's always hope.
I just want to, I don't know if you talked about this before, this campus got me all fired up, and you can hear me talking so much today.
That's okay.
But, they talked about mulch, and I don't know how many of you have a mulch or whether you can buy mulch or whatever, but I just signed up on a website, and they will deliver. You can't say how much you're going to get. You got to get however much they have. And it could be a dump truck load. Okay. But it's called Chip Drop. And I signed up for it. It's free. If you want to pay for it, I think you can pay however much you want. I say I paid $20, but to get a dump load of, and you have to show them where you want it, because when they come, you might not be home.
Right.
So, that's a site if you need a lot of mulch, and I do need a lot of mulch. That's some way that you can get it for free. And just talking to people at my work, somebody told me that So, and I've already signed up and put yellow marks to spot in my yard because I don't want to walk in and can't get into my yard.
Right.
How do you spell that?
It's chip, hold on, I'm looking at the email. It's chip drop, CHIPDROP, chip drop.
.com.
Yeah.
And is it only for certain, what state is that for?
It's any state, I guess, because when you go to it, see if you can pull it up. And if you can pull it up, it's because it asks you what state you're in. It asks you that. So I gotta see who's in the chat. Yeah, chip drop. Yeah, somebody put it there, chip drop. Did it take you to the site, chip drop?
I've used it before as well. Here, I'll put it in the chat.
So it did come up. That's the name of it.
Yeah, I'll put it in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used it before and signed up for it too. Scarlett, I haven't gotten any yet. If you get some before me, please let me know because I need some as well.
Well,
go ahead.
They say, you don't know where and they said if you paid a little extra money, you might get it a little bit. So that's why I went on and paid that little extra money.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign up for it again. Yeah. But this is such a great idea because we mentioned mulch before and we talked about straw, we talked about, wood chips, we talked about pine needles, dried leaves, anything you can imagine that's already on your property if you can. But if you can't and you can get it free, this is even better. What I learned about chip drop is even when they can't get it to you, they'll send you an email or a text and say, hey, we haven't, got anything yet. Do you want to renew your request? And I've done that as well and renewed it and they'll do it again.
Something else that I've done, I don't know whether y'all gonna laugh at me and think I'm crazy, and I am crazy, but something else that I have done, Lowe's have these bags where people put their wood clips and things like that, yard rakings in beside the road for pickup, and they in biodegradable bags. Well, as I'm driving down the road in my truck, my pick 'em up truck, I stop and pick them up.
Oh, okay, it's free.
It's free
at Lowe's.
No, well, you get the Lowe's bags, but as people use them, they put them out for the garbage people.
Okay.
And as I'm driving and I see the bags and I peep in them and see what's in them in those bags, if it's leaves and green, stuff like that, I pick up those bags. Just make sure you don't do it early in the morning when the bags are heavy and full of frost and dew.
So you're saying these are people's lawns?
Yes.
That you see the Lowe's bag on filled up.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Wow, I like that.
Yes, it's free.
They used to have, I know where I used to live.
Well, do you have to take it off their property though?
It's not on their property.
Garbage.
They put it out by the garbage can for the garbage people to pick up.
Right. So what I was saying is where I used to live, people would put leaf bags out there like that too.
That's what it is. Bags.
Let me tell you something. Leaves are gold. Okay, guys, leaves are gold. And if you take down a tree on your property, don't let nobody take your tree. That's still your tree. Even though you took it off, you had them pull it up, it's still your tree. Find somebody, if you can't do it yourself, find somebody who will chip that tree up for you because that is your tree and trees are gold. They are gold. Not only do they bring all the sunshine in the world when you move them or take them out, they open up your yard, you got sunshine now, but the leaves and the wood from it, you get firewood, you get mulch, you get dead leaves, you get branches that can be mulched down, you can put in your garden. That saves on water. It keeps your garden moist because now you got this wood piled up and it's going to stay moist on the bottom ground where your roots are. Oh, it's amazing. So don't ever let anybody take your trees, even the people that take them out. Don't let them have your tree. Keep your tree. All right, guys, it is 3:02. This is the fastest hour in history. I am so glad that everybody came on. Thank you guys for coming. I will be in touch. If you would like a access to this video, please put your email address in the chat if you haven't already, and I will make sure that you get a copy of this, this video. Now, last week's video, I did send out, but I sent it out late. So I apologize for that. I think I sent you guys the wrong video. If you didn't look at it, ignore it. Just look at the latest email from me that has the right video in it. I also sent you a list of the Amazon products that I've purchased before that works for me. I'm going to continue to add to that list. So if you want to know about anything that I've used that I recommend highly, I will have that list updated on a regular basis, and I will share that with you. So for next week, don't forget to come back on at 2 o'clock next Sunday. That'll be what, the 26th. And then our big announcement is next, let's see, July 17th. Yeah, July 17th. We will not have a meeting like this. We will be at my house. So if you're in the Georgia area, Atlanta area, you are invited to come to my home for a garden project as well as lunch. So I'll be providing food, and we'll also get out in the garden and do some work. Don't forget to bring your boots, your gloves, your hats, any of your garden equipment that you think you might, PPE that you may need. And depending on what the garden project is, you may want to bring some tools, but I will update you on that. Only those that sign up to come will get my address to know where to come. Okay. Other than that, I won't be publicizing my address, but I will give it to those who contact me directly and say, hey, I'm coming. You know, here's my number or whatever. Just give me your address and I'll be there, and I'll set the hours and all that. So we got a little bit of time before that actually happens, but that is something that we're going to do every month. So if you happen to be in this area and you would like for us to come to your place to help you with a garden project, I, for one, would be glad to come. We're going to do it on a Sunday. The next one would be in August. So you will pick the Sunday that's going to work for you. You pick the hours, and you let us know what you want us to do for you that month. Veronica, you have a question?
Yes, a couple of things. One, I'm so blue that I'll be leaving a retreat in Pennsylvania on the 17th, so I won't be able to attend your event in Georgia,
Okay.
but I'd like to be in the loop on that.
Right.
Oh, I just lost my thought. Okay, so first thing is, one, will you send out a flyer so that this can be shared, at least via email, or I sent you privately my cell phone number so that I can share it?
Okay.
Two,
Sure.
oh Lord, you mentioned camp meetings. I would love to know about the camp meetings, because I think your camp meetings are not, they're more like country living camp meetings instead of traditional camp meetings. I'd like to know about those.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then your email, I got the email saying, oh, this is the right link. I didn't get an email with Amazon links or anything like that. So
Okay.
can you send whatever the
Yes.
body of the first email? I got
Yeah.
the first replay and I shared that, but I didn't get the Amazon links you were talking about.
Okay. So what I'll do is, once this video is finished, I will resend everything that I sent before. So it'll be this week's video as well as last week, as well as the Amazon link, as well as the new flyer. Okay. So all of that will be attached to the email that I send this week. So anybody that's on here today, if you weren't on here last week, that's fine. Just send me your email and I'll send you the link from last week's video as well as this week's, and the Amazon list as well as the new flyer and, you know, any other information that, you know, pertains to this. So our group is growing, guys. We are growers. We're growing together. It's never too late to get started growing. I encourage you to do whatever you can, no matter where you are or what you have available to you. In your apartment, in your house, on your land, doesn't matter. We know that there's a crisis in food coming, and gas prices are sky high. It's a challenge to even go anywhere today, as well as feed yourself. So it's only going to get worse, and we want to make sure that we're prepared. Now, when it comes to camp meeting, we did have a camp meeting in May, I think it was, that we went to. I don't know if there's another one coming in this area, but I do know there's another one coming in Florida. Right, Scarlett?
I don't know about Florida, and I'm just getting into the loop with this, but there is a camp meeting. I'm not sure how big or anything. It's called Brave Family Camp, and it it's July the 15th through the 18th.
Yes, I heard about that one, and I have the flyer for that one.
It's in and it's in Stapleton, Georgia, which is like 20 miles from me, not far at all. But
what's it called? Brave Family?
Brave Family Camp. And I don't have the flyer on my computer. I have the flyer on my phone, but I can send it.
If you can send that to me, then I can put it on the on the email that I send out as well. Because we do want to connect on these things, guys. If you find out about this stuff, please share it. Because people want to know, they need to learn how to survive in the wilderness and end times and all that. We need all this information. And
the Brave Family Camp, I'm looking at the flyer, July 15th through the 18th, like she said, in Stapleton. And you contact Brent at 318-880-1705. 318-880-1705. The flyer says, inspiring messages, food preservation, mental health, natural health, marriage, homeschooling, children's programs, family games, campfires, and music, hosted by the Krishan family. Donations welcome.
They attended camp at the other camp meeting too, and I'm gonna put the email address in there. CH.
Excuse me.
Can
you? Okay. So I've been trying to send my email address, and every time I send it, I'm getting a message saying you cannot chat with Melissa Sims during this meeting. And I mean, I've attempted like at least 3 or 4 times.
Kim,
it seems like you're trying to contact me because you said my name, so it looked like you might be sending the message to me instead of her.
But when I clicked on the down arrow from your name, it just says everyone, and then it says Montina D. Bird. I guess the host, so should I send it to the host or to everyone?
Just send it to me, Kimberly.
Oh, I see. I got you now. And I'm going to send you my phone number because I'm also interested in your meeting at your place.
Sounds great. Sounds great. And guys, don't forget to pass the word around. A lot of people don't know about us. So as we continue to grow, it's open to everyone. So there's no restrictions. As long as people behave, they're welcome. Okay. So don't hesitate.
You can put that on the flyer if you want. Say an in-person one on this date, call so-and-so for details, or join Zoom for details if you're interested. That way you don't put your information and they have to join a Zoom and you'll see them here.
Right. Okay, thank you for that, Veronica. Okay, well guys, it's 3:11. If there's nothing else, if you've got everything into the chat, make sure you get everything in. That's great. And I'll add you to my contact list, and I'll continue to do this and continue to spread the word so we can keep going and going. And don't worry if you can't get on every time. Okay, we're going to be doing this every Sunday. It's 1 hour on Sunday. It's no big deal for me. So if you can't come every single week, don't worry about it. Come when you can. Scarlett?
I need your husband to come and make me one of them things you made.
Oh!
I need him. I got the wire, and I tried to do. I bought 100 feet of whatever kind of cattle. Yeah.
Yes.
What's she talking about? The trailers?
Yes.
How did you make it stand up? I need you.
Well, we'll get
that's what
contact.
Where she live at? Ain't she the one that live way out there in the country?
Yeah. Way out.
Okay, Kimberly, do I have your email address now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
You sent me the video from last week
Great.
as well. So I just received it today. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. All right,
And
guys.
I'm
The
gonna-
trellis is
I'm gonna use my daughter too.
the trellis is easy. All you got to do is like it's already you would put it up against the box and stuff like that. So the trellis not that hard. You just put it up against I think you stick it in the ground and you push it up
Okay.
against some. Maybe it take 2 people, but you already got the upscale flower beds.
All right, we gotta let people go, guys. We
They
can talk
can
about that
fly
later.
out. They
But
can
let's
But we'll
let,
call her. We'll
Yeah.
get her. We'll call her.
we'll contact you,
Thank
Scarlett.
y'all. Y'all don't want me on here every week.
No. We want you every week. All right, Kimberly, you straight?
All right, thanks.
Good?
Yes. I
Okay.
was gonna ask about that trellis too, because that's what I was wanting as well.
Okay.
Kimberly, where do you live?
I live in Linden, Tennessee.
Oh, I can't. Oh, how far is that from
That's not too far.
Murfreesburg?
Might be about an hour, I think.
Okay, I might have to look you up when I'm up there.
Sure.
All right. Well, listen,
Okay.
guys, we're gonna let you go. It's almost 3:30 now.
Okay.
It's so
Thank
good to
you.
talk to everybody. Until next week, God bless. Keep growing. All right.
All
So we
right.
got to get in touch with
Bye-bye.
Kimberly and the other
Bye-bye.
lady. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
All right.